If you are pregnant or you've recently had a baby, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Kath Bequee. I'm a physiotherapist working in women's health and mum of 3. Inside my online program, Fitness Mama, I help women feel confident and strong inside out as they navigate pregnancy, birth, and postnatal recovery. Each week, I bring you 2 episodes to support you on your motherhood journey. Whether it's real and raw birth stories from fellow mums, expert interviews with trusted health professionals, or bite-sized Q&As where I answer your most common questions. It is possible to feel amazing in your body during this stage of life, and I want that for you. Come and say hi on Instagram at kathbequee.physio, and let's dive into today's episode. Hey, welcome back to the Pregnancy, Birth and Recovery podcast. Is it too late to fix my ab separation? This is a beautiful member who's asked this question inside Fitness Mama. I jump into our community every week when there's a question and help answer my members' questions and help them support them through pregnancy, birth, and their recovery journeys. So let me read out this question. I thought it was a really great question that I thought everyone listening to this podcast would get a lot of value from. So, hi Kath. I am 16 months postpartum from my second pregnancy, and I'm still struggling with my core muscles. I still feel quite weak. I will admit that I have been inconsistent with my exercise as we have just moved across the country. When I do a sit-up, I can feel ab separation. And I can also see some doming. Is it too late to fix the separation? Can you help me with some exercises so I can do to help this? So I will send this beautiful member a message after this podcast interview, after this podcast episode, and I will send through some specific exercises. But for everyone listening, let's break this question down. So, is it too late to fix my ab separation? First of all, I do just want to say thanks to this member for asking this question, because moving across the country, juggling life with 2 little ones, consistency absolutely can be hard. And let me reassure you, it's never too late to start working on your core and rebuilding your strength post-birth. Even years down the track, our muscles, they can respond differently to strength training. And this idea of a missed window for recovery, I believe, is a myth to a certain degree. But let's first of all, I want to just normalize diastasis and explain a little bit about what it is. So I'm going to perhaps use the word DRAM. That stands for diastasis rectus abdominis muscle. And here's the truth that I think we don't talk about enough. And also, this is quite new research. Every year, I attend this amazing research update for women's health physios, where there's this absolute guru, Taryn Hallam, who sifts through with a fine-tooth comb all the latest research in this area of childbirth, pelvic floor, and all the rest. So this is quite newly updated information. But first of all, I just want to reassure you that some separation is totally normal. During pregnancy, the linea alba, the connective tissue that down the middle of the tummy, it naturally stretches. And on average, studies show it can widen to 65 millimeters during pregnancy. So, that's quite a bit of stretch there. I know, I'm sure I had a wider stretch than that too, with my pregnancy. So after birth, the fact is most women actually never go back to their pre-pregnancy, the nulliparous baseline. And that's okay because your body has a new normal. So, historically, we used to assess women post pregnancy the same as what we would assess someone who's not had any babies, not had any pregnancies. And we now know that that's actually not an accurate way. That's not an accurate baseline because we do have a new normal. And at 6 months postpartum, the average gap is still 2 to 3 times wider than women who've never had a baby. And that doesn't mean something's wrong. I definitely got a diastasis. And when I do certain sit ups and certain core exercises, I can see a mild doming. But I digress. Let me discuss. Less than 3 centimeters. 3 centimeters is like a bit of a magic number. That's considered within normal range postpartum, and it's not linked to long-term problems. And this is the exciting, I guess, the new information we now have at hand is diastasis. Like if we are assessing ourselves, and again, you might be thinking, how do I assess myself? It's a podcast, so it is hard to demonstrate this. It's time to update, and I'm going to do a new reel where I show you how to assess a diastasis. This is definitely something I show my members inside Fitness Mama, how to sort of self-assess. But I do just want to do a quick little disclaimer here. If you've got concerns, please go and get that professional support because what I teach you, what you pick up, it can be lost in translation. And sometimes you just need to have a hands-on assessment to see where you're at in and your particular situation. But let's say we pop our fingers above our belly button. We do a sit up and we're feeling um, the gap between the rectus abdominis, the muscles either side. Anything less than 3 centimeters, it's considered within normal range postpartum. And again, it's not linked to long-term problems. How good is that? It's so when we see studies using cutoffs like 22 millimeters, 28 millimeters to label women as having a dram, we have to question, are we pathologizing something that's just a normal part of postpartum anatomy? So 10 years ago, when I used to visit women in the hospital, after giving birth, we routinely used to assess their diastasis. And I used to say, you got 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter, 3 centimeters, four. Like to first of all assess them at such an early stage postpartum. And then secondly, to tell women, for example, they have got a 2 centimeter diastasis. Now, with the current knowledge and information we have at hand, I do believe that's pathologizing something that's just normal. If only I could go back in time, but we are evolving. This is a very much an area where research is evolving rapidly. So here's the kicker. Most women think they've got a bad dram, like a bad diastasis, when they don't. One study, and I will pop these links in the show notes with the research. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this properly, but it's GLUP or GLUPI 2023 excluded 72% of women from a trial because their gap was too small, so less than 2.8 centimeters. Yet these women thought they had diastasis. Why? It's because they were told too soon after birth that they had separation, or because of scary messages on social media. The result, and this is the sad bit, women then avoid certain exercises, they stop using their abdominals, and then they feel weaker, which only reinforces the issue. So, does abdominal separation cause pain or problems? And this is where the evidence, the evolving research is fascinating. And I do just want to say, if you're listening to this a year, 2 years down the track, research might have changed as well. So, to the best of my knowledge at this time, a mild DRAM, so mild abdominal separation, less than 3 centimeters, isn't linked to pelvic floor issues, low back pain, or long-term problems. With a wider diastasis, greater than 3 centimeters, some studies show associations with more difficulty doing heavier activities. But here's the nuance. Here's the important bit. Once research is adjusted for BMI and the number of pregnancies, these associations often disappeared. And in fact, long-term studies suggest when the dram is greater than 3 centimeters, women can be weaker. But is that because of the gap itself? Or is it because they've avoided strengthening out of fear? So, what are exercises that can help? What can we do if we've got a diastasis or if we're just postpartum, we're wanting to help heal our core? First of all, start with some deep core activation and breath work. Let's get those beautiful foundations. Let's start with some beautiful, beautiful pelvic tilts, gentle stretches. And I'm talking about the early stages postpartum where we want to keep it really functional. We want to wait till the medical clearance to get into proper, structured exercises. But in these first 6 weeks, let's do those functional exercises, gentle stretches, and yes, curl ups can be safe and effective. And one study showed that curl ups has improved strength without worsening separation. And I have recently gone through Fitness Mama and updated my postpartum workouts. Even, I'm not sure if you know this, but I've got a 0 to 6 week module inside Fitness Mama, which I don't call them workouts because, as we know, the recommendation is to get your medical tick of approval before recommencing structured exercise. But in this 0 to 6 week module, I provide physio-based, functional, safe exercises that you can do in that early stage postpartum, post-cesarean or vaginal birth, as long as there's not been any crazy medical complications. So we don't need to be avoiding certain abdominal exercises. So, to wrap it up, did you know most women's tummy gap never returns to pre-baby size, and that's completely normal? Less than 3 centimeters, that's a normal postpartum finding, not a diagnosis. The real problem isn't the gap, it's the fear that stops women from exercising and staying strong. What if we stopped asking, how do I close the gap? And instead we ask, how strong can I get with the body that I have today? So, to wrap it up and answer the listener's question, no, it's not too late. You can absolutely strengthen your core and reduce that sense of weakness. But let's shift the focus from fixing a gap to building confidence, strength, and function. If you're under 3 centimeters abdominal separation, and I will quickly say as well, that term abdominal separation I'm using today because it's one that a lot of people identify it, but the abdominals aren't separating per se. I feel that's not an accurate term to use, which is why I do interchange with abdominal separation, which people know and understand, to the diastasis, the widening. But let me repeat. If you are under 3 centimeters, celebrate that as a normal postpartum finding and focus on your postpartum rehab. If you're above 3 centimeters, you can still train smart, stay strong, and prevent avoidance from becoming the real barrier, and absolutely seek support from your local women's health physio or online platforms such as Fitness Mama to help you through your recovery journey. Inside Fitness Mama, I teach you how to self-assess and work through tailored core recovery workouts step by step. So come and join me if you would like support to help feel strong again after giving birth. Thanks for listening to the Pregnancy, Birth and Recovery podcast brought to you by Fitness Mama, your app for home-based, physio-led pregnancy and postnatal workouts. If you found this episode helpful, please tap follow, leave a quick review and share it to your stories. Tag at kathbequee.physio. I'd love to connect and cheer you on. And don't forget to check out the free trial at fitnessmama.com/free to start feeling confident, strong and supported today. Until next time, remember, a strong body, a confident birth, and empowered recovery is something you deserve. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for individual medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your healthcare provider for your personalised guidance.